This module offers a beginner-friendly introduction to HTML, covering basic structure, key tags, and syntax to help you start building simple web pages. Learning HTML is an essential first step in understanding the fundamentals of web development. This beginner-friendly course is designed to equip learners with the skills necessary to create structured and visually engaging web pages. Over a few sessions, participants will be introduced to the technologies that power the internet, progressively building their knowledge and confidence in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. By the end of the course, students will have a solid foundation in web development and be ready to explore more advanced topics. Getting started with HTML. Let's get started. We'll first understand the components of web technology. Then, we'll learn how to differentiate between front-end and back-end development. Let's explore the basics of web technology. First, we'll look at the client-server architecture. Next, we'll learn about web browsers and web servers. Then, we'll discover the role of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And finally, we'll understand how HTTP, HTTPS, and URLs work. Diving into client-server architecture, a model used in network computing. Clients are computers or devices that request services. The server is a centralized system that manages and delivers resources. This setup enables efficient and centralized resource sharing. It supports scalability, making it ideal for web services, email, and databases. Communication happens through protocols such as HTTP or HTTPS. Client-server architecture forms the backbone of modern web development. A web browser is the program you use to look at websites, like Chrome or Firefox. It shows you the content of a web page. A web server is the computer that stores the website's files and sends them to your browser when you visit the site. The browser and server work together to make websites appear on your screen. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. It's the main code used to build the structure of a web page. With HTML, you can add things like headings, paragraphs, images, and links. Think of it like the skeleton of a website. It gives shape and structure to everything you see online. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. It controls how a web page looks. CSS lets you add colors, change layouts, choose fonts, and adjust spacing. If HTML is the skeleton of a website, then CSS is like the skin and clothes. It makes the site look nice and organized. JavaScript is a programming language used on websites. It adds interactivity to a web page. JavaScript handles things like button clicks, checking if a form is filled out correctly, and even creating animations. If HTML is the skeleton and CSS is the skin, then JavaScript is like the brain. It makes the website respond and come to life. HTTP stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol. It's a set of rules used to transfer data on the web. When you visit a website, HTTP sends and receives web pages between your browser and the server. But HTTP is not secure, which means someone could intercept the data. That's where HTTPS comes in. HTTPS is the secure version of HTTP. It uses encryption, like SSL or TLS, to protect your information. This keeps things like passwords and payment details safe while browsing the web. A URL stands for Uniform Resource Locator. It's the address of a web page, just like a home address, but for websites. For example, https://www.example.com. A URL has different parts. The protocol is the beginning part, like HTTPS. The domain name is the main part, such as www.example.com. And the path shows a specific page on the site, like /page1.html. The path is optional and depends on what part of the website you're visiting. The goal is to understand what HTML is and why it matters. HTML is the main language used to build web pages. It gives structure to the content and tells the browser how to display it. Knowing HTML is important because every website is built on it. It's the starting point for all web development. In this section, we'll cover a few key things about HTML. First, what HTML stands for. It means Hypertext Markup Language. Next, we'll learn what HTML is used for, mainly to build the structure of a web page. We'll also look at the basic parts of an HTML page, like the head and body. Finally, we'll see how HTML works together with CSS and JavaScript to create full, interactive websites. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. It's used to create the structure of web pages. HTML uses special codes called tags to define things like headings, paragraphs, and links. These tags help organize and show content properly in a web browser. HTML is the foundation of every website on the internet. HTML is used to build the layout of web pages. It lets you add headings, text, links, images, and lists. This helps organize the content in a clear and meaningful way. HTML also tells the browser how to display the page. It's the foundation for all websites and web applications. Create a text-to-speech. Keep it basic and explain the concept. This code consists of the following components. Doc-type HTML specifies the document type. HTML, the root element of the HTML structure. Head houses meta information such as the title. Title defines the title displayed on the browser tab. Body encloses the content visible on the web page. H1 represents the primary heading. P contains paragraph text. A creates a hyperlink to another web page. In this section, the goal is to understand the tools needed for web development. You'll learn how to install and set up the essential software, and you'll get familiar with a simple workflow that developers use to create websites. Here are the topics we'll cover to get started with web development. First, we'll look at code editors like Visual Studio Code, which are used to write your code. Then, we'll install a web browser such as Chrome or Firefox to test your pages. You'll also learn how to set up a simple local server to view your work. We'll go through how to organize your files and folders for a clean project setup. Next, you'll see how to save and view your HTML files in a browser. We'll also explore developer tools built into browsers to help you check your code. Finally, you'll create your very first HTML file. Code editors are tools used to write and edit code. They support many languages like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. One popular and free editor is Visual Studio Code, also known as VS Code, made by Microsoft. It offers helpful features like syntax highlighting, autocomplete, and error checking. You can also add extensions to get more tools and support for different languages. VS Code even has a built-in terminal and Git integration to help manage your projects. Overall, code editors make writing, testing, and organizing code faster and easier. A web browser is needed to view and test your web pages. Popular choices include Google Chrome and Mozilla Firefox. To get one, just go to the official website and download the installer. Then, follow the steps to install the browser on your computer. Once it's ready, you can open your HTML files and see how they look. Most browsers also have built-in developer tools to inspect and fix your code. It's a good idea to test your website in different browsers to make sure everything works well. A local server lets you run and test web pages on your own computer. It helps load files like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript the right way. You can use Visual Studio Code with an extension called Live Server. To get it, open the Extensions panel in VS Code and install Live Server. Then, open your HTML file, right-click, and choose Open with Live Server. Your page will open in the browser at a local address like 127.0.0.1, port 5500. Any changes you make in the code will automatically reload in the browser. It's important to keep your web project organized. Start by creating a main folder to hold all your files. Inside that folder, use a file named index.html as the starting point of your website. Create a folder called CSS to store your style sheets. Make another folder named JS for your JavaScript files. Use an images folder to keep your pictures and icons. Be sure to name your files and folders clearly and use lowercase letters. A clean folder structure makes your project easier to manage and share. Modern browsers like Chrome and Firefox have built-in developer tools. You can open them by pressing F12 or by right-clicking on a page and choosing Inspect. These tools let you view and edit HTML, CSS, and JavaScript live on the page. The Elements tab helps you see and change the page structure. The Console tab is used to check for errors or messages from your scripts. And the Network tab shows how files are loading, which helps you debug performance issues. In this section, you'll learn the basics of how websites work and what technologies make them run. We'll cover how browsers and servers communicate and introduce HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. You'll focus on HTML, the main language used to build web pages. We'll explain its syntax, how it works with other tools, and why it's essential for web development. Lastly, we'll help you set up your coding tools, like a text editor and browser, so you can start writing and testing your own HTML pages.